Hi, Jeremy here, Modern Vitality. In today's video, we're going to be exploring aphantasia, which is a term that means the inability to generate visual images in your mind. It's when your mind's eye just kind of won't turn on. And this can be associated with all sorts of dysfunction in the brain. This isn't a judgment, by the way. It's just clinically how we're looking at this. You could have inflammatory processes, like you can get brain damage from mold exposure, and you can get neurodegeneration from having hidden pathogens and things like that in your body. That's one way. Another way could be head injuries, trauma, right? These kinds of things. There's all different ways to get a little bit of damage to the different parts of the brain, and whatever gets damaged then doesn't function so well. So it's a huge quality of life upgrade when we can visualize again. Okay, so it's something that if you've ever had that before, you want to reactivate it. I'm going to give you some ideas around this. This is all very experimental, right? These are hypotheses that I'm going to be sharing here, and I would like you to at least have some of the things I'm thinking about. So if this is something you're dealing with, whether it's part of a larger picture of a complex chronic health condition like Lyme disease or mold or chronic fatigue or something like that, or if it's just something that you have ever since you were a kid or since a traumatic head injury or something like that, a concussion, right? No matter what your situation is, you can start to use these exercises, hopefully, to start to rebuild some of this function and start to unlock different parts of your mental capacity, because then you have a much more rich and fulfilling life. I got put onto this term aphantasia from another practitioner. We've got a special group for health practitioners where we're mentoring and having masterminds and going over a lot of these kinds of higher level things. And this is something that one of the practitioners brought up, and she said, this is a real condition. It's only been recognized for the last 7 years or something like that. We need to find a way to start helping people get their brain function back. So to that end, here's what I'm offering, and I'll show you some of these. They're going to seem, here's the thing with these, they're going to seem dead simple. You're going to look at it and go, well, this is something that, a 4-year-old could do. Well, we need to develop ourselves, right? So if you have any kind of injury in your brain, we need to take our ego out of it and go, you know what, I'm going to focus on the basics. I'm going to focus on things that are super simple, because that's where a lot of the power is. The other thing that I want to offer you here is some context, because when I look at complex chronic health conditions, like if you've been around my world or any of my other videos, then you know by now that I look at a 4-stage process: immune system, digestive, neuroadrenal, and then blood circulation. And that's the order of operations for how we start to unlock different body systems. Because the temptation when you've got a complex chronic health condition, I mean, believe me, from the practitioner side and from the patient side, the temptation is to try to throw everything at it, see what sticks, right? Either that or we pray for a silver bullet. Instead, we need to organize all of our strategies in an order that's going to be the most effective. And this is where we get our leverage. So we start with the immune system, and we get the inflammatory processes regulated so that the immune system's not hibernating and it's also not overreacting. That's really the first step for unlocking most of these conditions. Because when we go to do these, even though these seem like simple, straightforward exercises, it's going to take some brain power, and you're working your brain like a muscle. And in order for your brain to learn and grow and get stronger, it's got to have a healthy immune system to help it strengthen, just like muscles when you're exercising. It's the same kind of thing. So you may find, why I'm telling you this is because you may find that these exercises are actually kind of hard to do at first. And maybe you stick with it, and maybe you can start to unlock things. Or if they're very hard to do at first, maybe that means you need to go through a process where you get your immune system dialed in, and then your digestive system, and then ultimately around stage 3, like neuroadrenal, stage 4, blood circulation. That's really when I would be introducing these kinds of exercises within that kind of comprehensive process. So there's my caveats, okay? If you're dealing with a whole world of stuff like Lyme disease or fibro or something like that, long haulers, you need to be patient with yourself. You need to understand that there's a right time for different things. It may be too early for an exercise like this, but you can try it anyway. So I'm going to show you what I'm doing with these and how we're going to start to awaken some of your visual capabilities. And the images that I made here, you can find the link in the description of this video, and you can just go download the PDF for yourself and just go print them all out. Okay, that's not an issue. So that's for you. There's no email opt-in or anything. You can just have them, right? Just get to it and let's see what happens. So here we go. So let's look at the first image on the left. It's a triangle, and I've got 3 dots for the corners and then 3 lines connecting. And you're going to see some smudges on the paper. Just ignore that. My printer's having a bit of a fit right now, but I figured it's better to get this video done than to wait until the printer's perfect. So when you print these papers out, you're going to have a totally clean white paper with just the lines and the dots, and that's all you really need. And what we're going to do is we're going to work on reverse engineering the process of visualization. So usually what happens is we take in imagery through our eyeballs, and then that goes to our visual cortex, which processes it, and then we get that into the front of our brain that starts to make sense of the images we're seeing. This is just roughly kind of how this is understood. What we're going to do is reverse that, right? So we're going to think about something, and then we're going to visualize what it looks like, and then we're going to put it out, instead of through our eyeballs, we're going to put it out through our hands into the world in the form of drawing, right? But we have to be able to do both. So what we're going to do first is look. What you want to do is you really got to settle into this. And I want you in a quiet environment, like distraction-free, and just plan on taking 10 minutes to really do this triangle exercise. So you want to look at your triangle, and you want to get a really good sense of, I know it's a simple shape, right? And I know we all know what a triangle is, but get a sense of how it looks. And what you can do, if you like, is to just pick a place kind of in the center here, and you can just stare at that for about 10, 20, 30 seconds, something like that. And don't let your eyes move off of that. And then what you do is you close your eyes, and you'll see the inverted triangle. That's just a product of your eyeballs firing. It's not really your brain necessarily, but you'll see that with your eyes closed, and it'll be inverted. It'll be white lines, right? So you can practice that at first, where you just stare towards the center of this thing, and then you just let the image kind of burn itself. And this way you can start to get used to closing your eyes and seeing things, even though this is a mechanical way to do it. It's not a brain function, right? It's just your eyes haven't repolarized yet. So there's that. Now the next thing is to have a really good sense of this image, and I kept it simple at first. You can always build these up to something more complex, right, in the future. But I want to start you with something straightforward. So we've got the triangle. Now let's go to the next page, which is obviously missing a leg, right? It's an incomplete triangle. So what I'm going to do here, I want to get this in the frame for you so you can see, is I can actually see, if I stack these up, I can see through the paper, and I can see this line, right, from this one underneath here. You see? See that? So I can see through my paper. I'm not sure if it's coming out on the camera, but when you do this at home, you're going to have this kind of effect where you can see it. Now, what we're doing here is we're training ourselves to see the potential line. I want to see what's going to be there. I want to start to visualize that. And I'm using my sensory eyeballs to pull that information in, right? I'm not generating it from nothing. The next thing I want to do is I want to take this underneath. I want to take it away entirely so there's no more cheat line. And now I want to start to imagine where that line would be. I've got the dots, right? And I can start to see that in my mind. Now, if you're having aphantasia, this might be an impossible ask for you right now. And you're just going to keep working on this like a muscle, like you would train it. If my wrist was broken and didn't work, right, I can't do all kinds of stuff with my hand. So I have to physically rehabilitate my wrist and get it to function better. And that takes time, and it takes repetitions, and it takes a certain amount of gentleness. And that's why we're doing the same kind of thing with the brain. We're going to do many repetitions of seeing this line. And if you're having trouble visualizing it, just go back and look. That's what it should look like. Okay, we're going to look at it, study it. You can stare in the middle if you want, or you can just look. Get to know this, get playful with it. This practice is hypothetical. It's something I've just come up with, and I want to do some experiments here. You may innovate on top of this. I hope you do, right? That would be really wonderful if you could do that. So see it, see what's missing, imagine it, right? Do your best to create an image in your mind. And then once you've got that image, right, we know logically I need to connect these dots. That's what's going to happen, right? But now we have the logical piece, but now we also need to do this in a way where we can start to see it happening before we draw it. So you can go back and forth as many times as you need to. Look. 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 And then once you start to get a sense of seeing where the line goes, not just knowing, right? We know, but also seeing where that line goes and what it's going to look like. And another piece too, before I draw this, is you can also engage your tactile imagination. So imagining what it's going to feel like, the friction of the pen on the paper, right, as you move, feeling the paper glide across the back of your hand, right, hearing it, hearing the sound of my hand moving across the paper, the sound the pen's going to make, right, this kind of pen's probably going to be slightly scratchy of a sound, right? So you can do all these things where you engage different types of senses to try to emulate what the future is about to look like. So we have our visual capacity of visualizing that line, and I know it's going to look like this, roughly, right? I'm not a computer, so it's going to be, it's going to be imperfect, but we'll get the picture. And then we also have hearing. I can hear in my mind this sound, right, of my hand moving across the paper. I can hear in my mind the sound, the scratchy sound of the pen, right, which is going to kind of sound, right, it's going to be like, I can hear that sound in my mind before I start. So all these things can be happening, and I can feel, of course, I can feel the resistance, the friction, I can feel the glide of the paper on my hand. So I'm getting ready at my point, and I'm thinking now, okay, I want to visualize this line. It's difficult to visualize it with aphantasia, but can I auditorily visualize, right? Can I imagine what this is going to sound like, right? And yeah, I can do that. Okay. Maybe you can't do that either. This is good to know, good to discover. Can I have a tactile imagination, right? So I do all these things, and then I go, okay, I know exactly what's going to happen here. I've got the sound, I've got the feeling, and I've got the visual, and then I practice drawing my line, right? So we can start there. I would say do this with these 2 pages, right, with the whole triangle and with the one side missing, as many times as you need to start to feel comfortable with this exercise. This is work for your brain. This isn't just like, some mindless thing. This is work. We're engaging your brain because that's how you're going to start to wake it up, right? If this becomes easier for you, then I have more images in the PDF, so you can go to something like this. Oh, what's happening here, right? Well, I know there's going to be one here and one here, and I have a pretty good idea what it's going to look like, right? It's going to look something like this, right? I know what it's going to feel like. I know what it's going to sound like. So this isn't about drawing a triangle and just getting it done. It's about engaging yourself with a process where you bring your senses into it, including your eyes, and especially trying to use your brain to project into the future via a visualization. So in my mind, I'm imagining this line being black and going from dot to dot, and I'm just going to go ahead and draw what I visualized. And then likewise, this one, right? Great. Job done. Okay, we got that. If you want to move on to something a little more challenging, then you just follow the PDF. Here's our next one. What do you think is going to happen here, right? You can already start to visualize the triangle based on the 3 corners. So I want to be working with you, not where you're just like, okay, I can connect the dots, right? But also not just responding to what's there, but understanding what's going to be there and then putting it there. Okay, good enough triangle for our purposes. So the next one, if that becomes easy for you, right, then here comes our next one. I've got a little fractal deal for you where there's a triangle nested into another triangle. This is our master little plan here. This is the full shape. You can stare at it for a while. You can close your eyes. You can see if this is burned into your retinas, right? And then you can also just really look at it and understand it mentally, logically, and then see if you can see it with your eyes closed. See if you can imagine it. Because guess what we're going to do? We're going to go to this level, right? And this is all in the PDF you can download. Where what's missing, right? This one. And so we're going to now not just mindlessly connect the dots and be done with it, but I want to really imagine what's that look like. And if I'm having a hard time visualizing that, guess what? I'm going to stack it up under this. Let's get them even for you. And look. See, maybe you can see that very faint. It just shows through just a little bit. This is my crutch to help me imagine actively doing this, right? Just like physical rehab. Sometimes we need a brace, sometimes we need a crutch. With mental strengthening like this, you're doing mental rehab on your brain. Sometimes you need a little bit of a crutch, and there it is. Can you see that, right? Now, can you still see it? Can you project into that? Yes. Then draw it, right? Draw what you can see. So we'll start there, and then we're going to go to progressively more and more pieces missing. So I know where this dot is, I know what's going to happen, and now it's a matter of visualizing where those lines are going to be, and then following, right, manifesting the visualization that I've made. Not just connecting the dots. The dots are there to be crutches, to be guides, right? Our next one, here we go. I'm going to go through all these for you, right? I want to see it, and then draw it. I want to see it, and then draw it. Okay, our next one. A little more challenging. We're missing some of these outer sides too, right? I want to see it. I see it in my mind. I can feel it in the pen. I can feel it on my hand. I can hear it in my mind, right? And we're going to draw it. And then what do we have? This one, this one, right? Good. And you just keep going with this. We've got 2 more to do, right? So I want to have my triangle here. I got a lot of empty spaces to fill in. So see it, see it, see it, see it, see it. Whoops, there, that'll work. So I'm going a little quicker just to get through these, but you get the point here. My last one is going to be here, and you want to go nice and really, you want to do this slowly and mindfully, right? I'm speeding things up so that I can show you everything with respect for your time. But when you sit down to do this, take your time, okay? Use your attention, use your full self, use your senses. So I'm seeing this black line in my mind, and now I'm going to manifest what I saw. Same thing, I'm seeing the line, I'm going to manifest it. Good, I'm seeing the line, I'm going to manifest it. I'll even turn the page a little bit. Right, now I got these to deal with. I can see this triangle in my mind, I'm going to draw the triangle. Right, we're starting to wake up some of these dormant visualization centers. Okay, so that's one. First exercise. If you're struggling with a complex chronic health condition, you don't have to do it alone. We've got a lovely group. It's international. It's a support group. It's Modern Vitality Solutions and Support. It's free to join as a guest. You'll find the link. It's below the video in the description. There's an application. I'll take a look. If you seem like a great fit for our community, I'll let you in just as soon as I can. All right, let's get you feeling better. Cheers.